This conference will now be recorded.
So welcome to Angular 8 training program. And as part of this today's session, we are going to uh, discuss about the introduction part of Angular, why, what exactly is Angular and how Angular came into the market, and why there's a lot of demand in compared with other client-side technologies. So this Angular is having more demanding into the market, and what is the primary key reasons behind that. Okay, especially in client-side technologies, what is the role of these client-side technologies in industry right now, and how these client-side technologies have more demanding into the market. So these are all the details we are going to discuss as part of this today's session. Okay, yeah. Can you please keep your mics in the mute mode so that that is not disturb the recording. If you have any questions, you can feel free to switch on the mic and then you can communicate. Okay, thank you. Right. So before we are moving to this, what exactly this Angular, first we should have some the background details about the web development related technologies so that we can easily understand this what is Angular and all. Okay, so basically the technologies are web development history. This we should have proper idea so that we can understand what is the background about Angular, how Angular came, okay, what is the priorities of the Angular. Okay, these are all the things we can better understanding with the help of this. Okay, so we should have some proper awareness on this web development history. Usually, in order developing web applications, we are going to use several technologies. Okay, these technologies we can divide it into two categories. So one is the technologies which are involved in the client side, and another one is which is a server side. Okay, you take anything in web development process or the technologies, which is usually it will be divided into two parts. Okay, so one is the client side technologies and server side. So here the client is referred as a browser basically. Okay, not the end user. Okay, so here the client is referred as the browser, the technologies which is processed in the browser, the technologies which is executed in the browser. Okay, those will consider as a client-side technologies, and the technologies which are handle the activities at server side, like database related activities. These are all the stuff that will be comes under server side. Okay, so usually these two areas, okay, client side and as well as server side. Okay, now this is a just primary categorization. Now we're digging into more details in these two areas. Welcome to the first one, the client-side technologies. Okay, initially when web development process was started, okay, so we have only the basic client-side technologies. Later, server-side is added. So initially, we are in web development. There is a three items are involved. Of course, still we are using these things nowadays. Okay, so that is a HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Okay, first HTML is came to the picture, and the later CSS and JavaScript. This is a happens in the 90s time period, early 90s. So 91, 92. At the time, these technologies in 95, complete CSS JavaScript is integrated along with HTML. So in client-side technologies, basically these three things are may primarily display the important role. Okay, and in this, the first one, if you consider the HTML, so basically this HTML, okay, is going to take care about that how we can structure for your web page, and it is provides the facilities, okay, to create or to design uh, structure of your web page. Okay, so structure for our web page that is going to be provided by this HTML. Like if you take like head section, body section, display the content in the table format. Okay, so we have a proper structure if you want to prepare, and the corresponding tags we are going to involve, and with the help of the tags we can design the web page. Okay, and we'll come to the CSS. Okay, so we know that the CSS is helps us to apply, okay, our styles to your web page. Okay, so this will be the HTML is for the designing aspects, and the CSS will apply the styles to the HTML elements. Without HTML, obviously we can't apply. Okay, first HTML will design the structure, and then you can apply the styles. And the later the JavaScript is also is introduced. And JavaScript, the purpose is which is used to perform dynamic operations in client side technologies. Okay, so dynamic operations that we can perform with client side. Okay, why we need this dynamic operations? What is the requirement of it? So initially, most of the people they are using okay, first HTML and CSS. Later, what happened for in order to developing these business applications, we need permanent storage of data and database related transactions. So server-side technologies also introduced. For example, Java. Of course, in 90s time period, we don't have the .NET. Okay, ASP, classic ASP was there, but later ASP.NET is came to the picture. Okay, and then the PHP, some server-side technologies. So, so from client side, we are submitting or sending the data to the server. Okay, using HTML, we create the forms and submitting will submitting data to the server. So at the time, what happened if you are submitting invalid data to the server, definitely it will be a problematic. So when you are submitting data to server, so in order to make it so valid data, so make sure that the valid data will be submitted to the server. So with that intention, okay, before we are submitting data to the server, we need to perform the validations. So validations is one of the dynamic tasks that we have to perform at client side. Before we are sending a request to the server, we supposed to send the we supposed to validate the data. Okay, so that is what we do. So before we submitting data to the server, we need to perform the validation so that what happened, valid data will be submitted to the server so that we don't have any issues at server side and the database. Okay, it will be more comfortable and convenient. Okay, so usually initially when most of the people are there, they consider JavaScript is only for performing validations. Even nowadays also, several people still they think about that JavaScript means first validations will come to the picture. It will come into their brain. Okay, but actually the thing is we can do so many other operations also with the help of the JavaScript. Say for example, dynamic styles. Okay, so dynamically we can apply the styles using the JavaScript, and we can okay show and hide the content. Okay, there's several things that we can able to do. Okay, using the JavaScript. Okay, so but the basic key aspects and key purpose is validations only. Okay, so that's why most of the people are thinking about that JavaScript is only for the sake of validations. Okay, so server side will do all database related activities, and client side will do we performing these operations with the help of this HTML for designing our web pages, and CSS for applying the styles, and JavaScript will perform basic validations, and then will submitting data to the server, and server side it will do all the operations. Okay, so this is the process which is happening, okay, in between the 95 to 2005, that 10 years, that decade, the 10 years time period. So what happened, most of the websites are developed with this kind of phenomena. Okay, server side will do all database operations and generate the pages and generate the HTML content and send to the browser. Browser will display whatever server is sent to the browser, and that will be displayed to the end user through browser. So that is the duty. So JavaScript just for performing validations, the rest of HTML, CSS for presenting the data. So this was the situation. Okay, so in this we need to understand about that request processing mechanism. Okay, how this client and server will communicate with each other, or how the browser and server will communicate with each other. So on that we should have a proper understand. Okay, so that we know that what kind of approaches we followed in olden days, what are the issues who are there, and how those issues we address in latest technologies, so we can easily understand. Okay, so the request processing. So request processing in the old approach. Okay. So actually when you are sending a request, so usually what happened, the browser will just send making a request. So how user will make a request in the browser by enter URL or so how we can make a request like by entering URL or we can click hyperlinks or links in our websites. Okay, when you open any website, you'll have several hyperlinks, and when you click on the link, then request will go to the server. Okay, so then what happened? So whenever you enter the URL or we click the hyperlink, so then what happened? The request will go to the server, and then request. And at server side, what happened? The request will be processed at server side, and the once that request is processed, okay, the response will be delivered. Okay, so server will process the request. So processing is nothing but the execution of that particular page, and it's maybe a server-side program and combinations with HTML and a combination of this client-side technologies also. Server will process the request and it will perform database operations and prepares the complete content what browser is going to be display. All HTML set tags and CSS, everything the server will be prepared, and then so that will be creates that is as a response. Okay, that is a final. Okay, create the response. Okay, which is output is nothing but, and then that response is delivered to the browser, and the browser is going to present that. Okay, then after that, so that response is that response will be sent to the browser, and the browser will actually will display to end user. Okay, this will consider as a the final output. Okay, at that time, browser will renders the tags into proper output format, like tables, images, or paragraphs, headings, whatever the server will send. So usually, this is the process that is going to be happens. Okay, so say for example, let us take a wonderful the scenario. The example is called cricket score. Okay, usually when we are watching the cricket, so we are expecting for every few minutes the request it is going to be refresh the results. Okay, so if you consider that website, okay, first when you are open the website, you will get all the content like headers, photos, images, graphics, okay, menus and everything. Okay, after few minutes or after few seconds, we are expecting that updated score. So again, what we do, we'll just click the refresh button. When you press the refresh button, obviously what happened? Again, the request will go to the server. Okay, even when you do refresh button also, you'll do the same thing. When you click refresh button, again the request will go to the server, and then server will process the request, and server creates the response. This response is the entire page will be regenerated. The entire page will be generated, and then the response sent to the browser. The whole process will be happens once again. And again, if I click the refresh button, or so if you make the request, so for every few seconds or for every few minutes, the entire process will be, it will be going to be performed. But actually, if you observe that in that cricket score concept, okay, the page concept, if you are consider, so suppose if the entire page, we have several things are involved. Okay, so say for example, we have the headers are there, and then will there be some photos are there, and in the sidebar, there's so many advertisements are involved. Okay, so a lot of things are there, video advertisements and image advertisements in between. So what happened? You have the cricket scoreboard also. Okay, so actually the thing is for every few minutes and all, so we are expecting only the scoreboard will get updated that information, this red color boxes. Okay, this content we need to update, But usually what happened, the entire page will be regenerated. Okay, the entire page. Whenever you click refresh button, every time what happens, server will regenerate the entire page. That is include again headers and footers and sidebars, graphics, whatever you have. Okay, if I click five times the server will regenerate the entire content. But actually our need is we want to update only this scoreboard. If I generate 100 times also, this content may be the same. Maybe score will be updated. But in this old style approach, what happened? So this is a synchronous model of web development, a traditional approach, of course. So in this approach, what happened? Every time the page server should regenerate the entire page. Server will process the entire page. Okay, this if in the limited number of users, okay. But if you have more number of users and more number of requests will come to the server, definitely what happened? This is going to be a, it creates some additional burden for the server. Actual cricket score, if you consider, it is very limited number of characters, maximum 1,000 characters. But all repeated content will be regenerated every time. That will be more than 1 lakh, 2 lakhs characters. So that is a problem. So this approach will call it as a synchronous approach. In this synchronous approach, what happened? Every time the server will be regenerated entire page, then full page will be updated. Okay, so this approach usually we'll consider as a request and response approach, but that technically we'll call it as a synchronous approach. Synchronous process. Okay, in this the problems is full page will be updated every time. That is called full page updates, and this process will actually it is increasing the burden on the server. Okay, these are all the drawbacks. Okay, of that old style approach. Of course, still some websites is doing this. Okay, so they won't follow that new standards. Okay, in case if they did not follow even today, so same problems they'll face. Okay, so it will increase the burden on the server, and then it will causes network traffic also. And then fourth one is and so another one is will there is a delay in response. Okay, it's a synchronous process. Okay, and full page updates, and every time the complete page will be regenerated. Okay, because of that, what happened? That is increases the burden on the server, and that causes the network traffic. And users also will not get the quick response because of the complete page will be regenerated every time. So these are all the issues that we have in uh, the synchronous process, synchronous application development. Okay, so these issues we are going to address with the new technologies. Okay, then the people are thinking about okay, without regenerating the entire page, how we can able to do the only certain portion of the data, only certain area, uh, so without regenerating it. Okay, so with that approach, we have several new technologies, new concepts came to the picture. Those are all will causes increasing that more demand and popularity of the client-side technologies nowadays. Okay, so before we move forward, okay, discuss about the solution for this approach. Okay, so let us have some quick confirmation from you. Okay, are you able to follow me? So are you with me? Like if you have any queries. So till now, whatever points we discussed, is there any questions from your side? Just please confirm me in the chat panel. If you have any queries, just directly you can talk. Okay, or if you are clear, no questions, and you just drop the message in the chat panel. So give some quick reply so that we'll move forward. Okay, yeah. Thanks, Sari, for confirmation. Uh, Priya, from your side, you can use chat panel. No need to switch on the mic. That's as your wish. No problem. Okay, yeah, fine. Thank you. So, yes. So synchronous process, we have seen that the drawbacks, which is yes. So synchronous process is having these drawbacks, and these we can overcome by using another approach called asynchronous approach. Okay, in asynchronous approach, we are going to do the partial page update. Okay, it's not full page update, so we can do partial page updates. Not the entire page updates, only that scoreboard, that example, cricket score example, only scoreboard, certain area we can able to update. Okay, so how we can do this? With the help of JavaScript we can do, because JavaScript, as we discussed, dynamic operations, client side you can adding new items, and that will call it as a okay add or remove. Okay, elements are HTML elements are nothing but HTML tags. So this we can able to okay either you can add or remove or edit. So whatever you want you can do okay with the help of the JavaScript. So using JavaScript, yes, we can able to do these partial page updates. But the problem is JavaScript is a client-side technology which cannot able to access the server-side data. So that's why in 2005, so Google team is identified a new technique with the name called Ajax technique. So this is a very important point that you should understand. Okay, so entire web development history is divided into two parts. So one is before Ajax and the other one is after Ajax. Okay, this will, it's influencing all the web technologies. Okay, this is the cause for why these client-side technologies came into the picture. Okay, otherwise we'll just have HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's it. We don't have React, Angular, all these things. So this Ajax concept is brings the a new feature, options that is very convenient for the web developers. Using client-side technologies, we can able to communicate with the server and get the data, and with that we can do the operations. So basically, this Ajax is a client-side programming technique, which is help us to communicate with the server and get the data. So observe carefully. So as per our regular process, what happened? It is a partial page. Partial page update means certain portion of the data. So this we can do with the JavaScript. Actually, we don't need Ajax. But problem is JavaScript does not have any uh, databases. JavaScript does not have, it's not a server side. It is only client side. Okay, in client-side technologies, we does not have any database here. So it's a client-side, we don't have the database, permanent data. Live data is not available. It is server-side. So compulsory, what we do, we have to communicate with server. Server communication is nothing but again we have to send the request and process the request. This approach we have to follow, but that is having drawbacks. Okay, so in partial page update, we can do with JavaScript, but the problem is it client side data you can do, but not with server data. So then how can we achieve partial page update with the database values by using a concept called Ajax concept? Actually, Ajax is a one of the concept of the JavaScript. Okay, so that with the help of the Ajax, Ajax stands for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Okay, it is a JavaScript based concept. So with the help of this concept, what happened? We can able to get the data from server. So in this second approach, we are not get the entire page from the server. Okay, first the page will be loaded as usual, regular process. Next, after that, then updates are going to be happens through JavaScript. In this approach, we are just get the data from the server, and that data will modify through JavaScript. So JavaScript can do this adding or removing or editing HTML elements. So it can do the DOM manipulations at client side. So that what happened with server data, you can perform the operations at client side. The rest of all presentation part we can take care at client side. So that can be possible with the help of this asynchronous model. So if you're able to do this approach, if you're able to update the database values, in the client side with JavaScript. So obviously, so what happened, we can overcome all these issues, we can address all the problems. Okay, so now it will be less burden on the server. Okay, so how it will become less burden, because the server no need to process that entire page. Server is just send that updated data, updated score, in our cricket score example, just updated data to the client. Okay, so then it will be, so obviously these problems we are going to be addressed. Okay, so then it is going to be the less burden on the server. Okay, so it's a less burden on the server. Okay, and or it will be reducing the burden on the server. Okay, so you can server no need to process the entire page, only the required data it's supposed to send. And next, obviously it will become the less network traffic. Okay, it is reducing the network traffic, we can send only required data rather than the entire web page. Okay, so and then so we can here, so we'll just have a quick response. Okay, so quick response. Okay, so user will get. So how these are all the things is possible, that is with the help of the Ajax concept. Okay, using Ajax, so we can get the data from the server, and then the rest of all operations we can do at client side. So that we can achieve, so with the help of this Ajax concept. Okay, it is a client side technique which is identified by Google team. Okay, so in the year of 2015. Yeah, sorry, 2005. So it was that technique was identified. Then after that, so what happened, the people are thinking about writing more client side programming. But the problem is, in client side programming, we have to depends on only one language, that is called JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript is having one special title, so that is called lightweight programming language. So JavaScript is a lightweight programming language. Okay, so lightweight programming means which is having very limited number of features. Limited number of features that are available in JavaScript, limited language facilities, limited libraries. We have less number of facilities. So obviously, if we have less facilities, the development process will be a little bit complex for the developers. Okay, so let us take an example of Java.NET technology server side. We have so many facilities are there. Number of libraries, predefined methods, packages, classes, namespaces. So many facilities are available. Okay, so that's why that JavaScript server side will have more number of facilities. Development process is easy. But in client side, we have very limited options. So that is the reason the obviously this development process is a little bit complex. So that's why what happened, the people are thinking about some ready-made libraries, okay, or predefined libraries. Okay, so with that intention, the people are thinking about the different companies are developing different libraries. Say, for example, YUI, Yahoo UI, Dojo, jQuery. So these are all libraries which were developed in the year of 2006 and 7 time period. jQuery was 2007. Okay, so I use jQuery in several projects also. In so jQuery is one of the world famous library. Even till today, so many people are using jQuery in their applications. Okay, so these libraries, these are all JavaScript based libraries that makes the client side programming will be easy by providing predefined facilities. So later in after 2009 and 10, there is a Bootstrap. It is a CSS plus combination of JavaScript library. Okay, predefined responsive websites development process, built-in styles and all. Next, in 2012, so Google team was introduced a wonderful library, a JavaScript framework called AngularJS, and Facebook team is developed React.js. Okay, so this was a situation. Okay, and then AngularJS is the first time the Google team was introduced a new framework which is more powerful compared with all other items which are available in the market. So with the AngularJS, so we can able to develop, the single page application. The entire application will be, we can handle through a single page Okay, like Facebook is one of the example, YouTube, Gmail. So several applications are follows that. SPA is nothing but on the same page the content will get updated. Whatever hyperlink you click, so it will be on the same page. Just content will update. The rest of the layout will be the same. So there is so many facilities that is added that makes high level application development with Angular JS. So these technologies, it is reduce the burden on the programmer, and not only that, it is try to reduce that involvement of the server. So now we have less dependence on, depending on the server and more on the client side. So initially, when JavaScript first time it was introduced in the market, okay, the people are using just only in 95 and at that time period. So the client-side technologies is only just 10% the JavaScript programming, and remaining complete programming will do it server side only. But the later what happened? So when these Angular JS, these are all technologies is came into the picture. Okay, especially after the Angular product. So what happened? The client side it is become 90%, and then the server side it is become as a 10%. Now you just put the 10% efforts at server side. The rest of all the things we can do it. This is the situation nowadays. So maximum number of activities we can performing at client side. How it is possible? It is not only with simple JavaScript, but we have to depends on all JavaScript based frameworks and libraries. So these will makes your development process is easy and comfortable and convenient, so that what happened the client side we can build the entire application. So server side will just use for DB operations, and we can perform some services, okay, APIs development and all, just to perform database related transactions. Next in 2016, so Angular team is introduced one more product with the name called Angular 2. Okay, 2012 there is a Angular JS, and which will call it as a Angular 1. Okay, so this will usually will call it as Angular JS. Okay, in 2016, the Angular team is release one more framework, which is completely a new framework from the scratch with the series called Angular 2 Plus or Angular 2. Next, Angular 2 is updated as a 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it is 8. Next, end of this year, maybe 9 also is the industry people are expecting from Angular team. Okay, this Angular 2 series, that is what our actual training program. Okay, not Angular JS. Okay, so Angular 2 is not at all depending on the Angular JS. You don't need any prerequisite of Angular JS. It is completely a new framework, and which is developed from the scratch. The entire framework structure is different. Okay, it is not at all comparable with the Angular JS. It is entirely new framework, so everybody can learn Angular, okay, without any Angular JS background. Okay, so Angular 2 is a completely new framework which is a follows component-based development process, of course, which we are going to explore in our next session. Okay, so the key aspects of the Angular. So in Angular 2, okay, so Google team or Angular team is added several new facilities and the new features in application development, and I'll show that version history of Angular. Mhm, right. First, Angular 2. Okay, when Angular 2 series development process, okay, what happened? The team is make a decision that every year they are launching the two new versions. Okay, first half yearly one version and second half yearly another version. Okay, so Angular 2, okay, was released, and after that, what happened? The bugs which is comes after the new release of the new product, and almost that year they took the time for fixing the issues, okay, which is happens over there. And as per their regular cycle, okay, their build cycle, okay, in the next year they'll go for the Angular 4. Okay, with as per their regular schedule, they'll continue with that version number. So 4 and 5. That's why you may not see that the 3. Okay, so because that year they are setting the all the issues which is comes with Angular 2. So as per their original schedule, every year two new versions. First year, actually they plan 2, 3, and then 4, 5. Okay, but 3 is not released. So because they've spent their time on the fixing the issues. But Angular 4 series onwards as usual. Okay, 4 and 5, and then 6 and 7 the last year, 2018, 2016 Angular 2, 2017 Angular 4 and 5, and then 2000 okay 18 the last year 6 and 7, and now this year so Angular 8 was released into the market. There's a version history about the Angular, okay, from 2 series to 8. Now in this we are going to start from the scratch and all the things we are going to discuss. Okay, it's not like only just Angular 8 new features. Okay, so in our training program we start from the scratch, everything we are going to discuss about. Okay, here you can see that the version history. So Angular 2 and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Welcome to our yeah. Okay, so in client side, Angular is also client side technology, which is a very common um, technology that we are using for client side development. Okay, so you can integrate with any other server side technology, like Angular with Java or Angular with .NET, PHP. You can use any technology as a server side. And moreover, recently there is some more technologies came into the picture at server side, like you can maybe a Python or Node.js and Express.js. Okay, so till now, most of the people are using these first line of technologies in server side. But not only that, there is a Node and Express. These frameworks makes your JavaScript language is used for server-side development also. Okay, so as I said, the the percentage of the development now the 90% we can do client side and 10% server side. The 10% also is just for the sake of you know the developing database related operations with the help of the services. Okay, a RESTful services kind of thing or microservices, Spring Boot services. Different technologies are supporting this services concept. Okay, ASP.NET Web API, Java Spring Boot services, and even such kind of RESTful services. Okay, which is easy to perform client-side operations, and moreover, the RESTful services can be communicate with any device on any other applications also service-oriented things. So that we can do at server side. The rest of all operations we can do at client side. So Angular is a common for all developers. Okay, only Java with Angular you can Java server side, Angular client side. Okay, like the .NET, PHP, all these things. Okay, so Angular only pure Angular developers also who are working on client side, they're working on only Angular. Okay, so server side people will be taking care about it. Okay, Angular is a common platform for all UI developers and as well as server-side developers who can think about full stack. Even they can also, along with the server side, they'll also learn Angular. Or only client side, if anybody is focusing as a UI developers, even they will also they can do directly with Angular technology, Angular developers. So for all of us, the Angular is a very common platform. Okay. So in case if you want to learn Angular, so the prerequisite is you just have the basic idea about HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Okay. So main JavaScript is the primary concern. Okay. Of course, if you know JavaScript means obviously you have some idea about HTML and CSS. Okay, so JavaScript is the primary thing that you should know. Okay, so JavaScript is most important. Okay, because based on the JavaScript, we are going to build our Angular development process. Of course, we use a new language. Okay, but for that, JavaScript should be the base, so that you can understand Angular framework, Angular environment, Angular development, everything. So we can able to do with the help of the Angular. Okay, so JavaScript is the base language that is required. Okay, how we can able to uh, define what is Angular? Okay, so in simple definition, Angular is a open source TypeScript based web application platform. So which can be useful for developing applications. Okay, and for TypeScript based web based application platform. Okay, so we are using a new language in JavaScript in Angular, that is a TypeScript. Of course, it is similar to the JavaScript, but we have some more extra features. Of course, those also we are going to include in our training. Okay, we are going to discuss about TypeScript language. Okay, I'll give the sessions on the TypeScript, and then the TypeScript language we are going to use in our application development. So both areas we can able to do. Okay, so as part of our training, so first I'll give the introduction. Of course, I given already some details about Angular. I'll provide some more details in the next session also. Next, after that, okay, after introduction part, and uh, so we'll do the things. Yeah, TypeScript language we are going to learn, and then we'll focus on the Angular application development, TypeScript language. So as part of our training program, so we are going to discuss about TypeScript language, and then Angular concepts will discuss one by one. Okay. So in the next session, we are going to discuss more, some more details about the key features, and how Angular features are, it will be more convenient for us, and why Angular is release a new version instead of continuing Angular JS. These are all the things, okay, we are going to discuss in our next session.